faith and discipline are not two separate things that happen to be useful. They are the two halves of the same complete thing, and neither one works properly without the other. Faith without discipline is a dream that never becomes real. It is the person who genuinely believes something great is possible for them, but never does the daily work that would make it happen. They talk about the vision. They feel the pull of it. They can describe it in detail to anyone who will listen. But the work does not get done, and the vision stays exactly where it was last year and the year before that. Just a feeling, just a possibility that never crosses into reality, because the daily discipline required to build the bridge between where they are and where they believe they can go was never applied consistently enough to produce the bridge. Discipline without faith is a grind that eventually breaks the person grinding. It is the person who works extremely hard toward a goal they do not genuinely believe in or care about at a deep level. The effort is real, but it is pointed at something that does not inspire the continued commitment when the effort stops producing visible results. You need both. You need the faith to know where you are going and the discipline to walk there one day at a time, even when you cannot yet see the destination clearly. Faith in this context does not require a religious framework, although it can include one. At its most basic, it is the decision to believe that what you are building is worth building before the evidence that it will succeed is fully available. Because the evidence is never fully available before the building begins. The evidence comes after the commitment, not before it. The person who waits for certainty before committing their full effort to a direction will wait their whole life, because certainty about the future does not exist in any form that arrives before the attempt. Faith is the bridge over that gap. It is the internal decision to move towards something real and meaningful before the external confirmation that the movement is justified has arrived. Every person who ever built anything that mattered made that decision at some point. They committed to the direction before they could prove it was right. The commitment itself was the act of faith. The discipline that followed was the daily expression of that commitment in the form of actual work done in actual hours toward the actual thing. The young man who has neither faith nor discipline is the young man who drifts. He moves from one thing to the next, following whatever feels interesting or easy or socially approved in the moment without the internal compass of faith to give the movement direction, or the internal engine of discipline to sustain it past the point where the initial interest fades. Drifting feels like freedom from the inside, and it looks like confusion from the outside, and over time it produces a life that the person inside it experiences as a series of near misses and abandoned starts, and the chronic low-level anxiety of someone who knoweth not figure out of more, but cannot figure out why more keeps not happening. The answer is almost always the same. The faith that gives a direction has not been developed, and the discipline that would walk in that direction has not been built. Both are available. Neither arrives without a decision to develop them. Building with faith means staying committed to the direction on the days when the evidence for the direction is weakest. Those days arrive for everyone who builds anything real. The days when the work is not flowing and the results are not showing and the doubt is loud and the easier alternative is right there offering relief. On those days, the discipline alone is not always enough, because discipline is most easily sustained when it is connected to something that feels meaningful. And on the bad days, the meaning can feel distant. This is where faith does its specific job. Faith is not the feeling of certainty. Faith is the decision to keep going in the absence of certainty. It is returning to the work on the bad day, not because the bad day feels like the right day, but because the direction was chosen before the bad day arrived, and the bad day does not change the direction. The combination of that faith and the discipline to act on it even on the bad day is what separates the person who finishes from the person who stops before the finish. Discipline is the daily vote for the person you are trying to become. Every morning you cast the vote through the first real decision of the day, whether the body gets what it needs to perform, whether the work gets the best hours of the day or the leftover ones, whether the skill gets practiced or deferred, whether the standard gets held or quietly lowered because nobody important is watching. Each of these votes is small enough to feel inconsequential in the moment and significant enough to determine your trajectory over the months and years they accumulate across. The young man who does not understand this thinks he will make up for the lost votes later through some future burst of exceptional effort, but the trajectory is being set in the ordinary votes, not the exceptional ones. The exceptional effort on a good day is worth far less than the consistent ordinary effort on every day, including the bad ones. Vote for the person you are trying to become every single day without waiting for the day to feel worthy of the vote. Faith requires you to act on what you believe before the belief has been proven correct. And this is where most young men discover exactly how much they actually believe in what they say they believe in. It is easy to believe in the vision when the day is going well and the progress is visible and the people around you are supportive. The real test of the faith is what happens when none of those conditions are present, when the day is hard and the progress is invisible and the people around you are skeptical or indifferent. The faith that holds under those conditions is real faith, and it produces something that fair weather belief never produces, which is the consistency of effort across the full range of conditions the building process presents. Real building is done in all conditions, not just the favorable ones. The person whose faith is conditional on favorable conditions is not really building. They are waiting for the conditions to make the building feel safe enough to begin. The discipline to build something real requires you to become boring to people who are not building anything. This is one of the real costs, and it is worth naming honestly. The young man who commits to a direction and the daily discipline of moving toward it will find that he has less time and less interest for the things that occupied his time before the commitment was made. The late nights that produce nothing. The conversations that circle around the same complaints without moving toward any solution. The social performance of appearing to be fine while doing nothing that would actually produce fine. All of this starts to feel like a bad trade once the discipline is real and the building is real and the hours have a direction that the drift never had. Some relationships will not survive the change. Some people will interpret the focus as arrogance or judgment. The cost is real. It is also worth paying because the alternative is remaining available for everything while building nothing. The moments that test the faith are the same moments that build the discipline, and understanding this connection changes how you experience the difficult periods.